I am so excited to welcome back one of my favorite guests and one of our most popular guests from the Doodle Pro Podcast, Malena DeMartini Price. And she is my go-to when it comes to separation, anxiety, resources, work on making sure our pups are more comfortable with alone time. In my new book, Your Doodles Daily Schedule Blueprint, I feature some amazing tidbits from this guest. And we talk in the schedule about how to line up crate training, crate time, and alone time training to create comfort for your pups. But I want to dive in deeper because that's the schedule. And I want to dive in deeper into the how to. So, welcome, Milena. I'm so happy to have you today.
Thank you, Corinne. This is one of my favorite podcasts to be on
Oh,
because you have such a wonderful audience, of course, but also because you ask all the good questions. And the reason you can ask all the good questions is that you have such a breadth of knowledge. And it's really wonderful to talk to someone when they know a lot and we can get into the nitty gritty conversation. So thank you for having me.
that's very kind. And now the pressure's on for great questions today. So, I hope I don't disappoint. Thank you so much. If we're talking about a typical developing puppy or adult dog, why do you think crate training is valuable?
Wow. I think that's such a good question because the reasons that crate training can be so valuable, none of the boxes that I'm going to mention and tick off have to do with separation. But there's a couple different reasons for puppies and more adult dogs, but they run similar. And the first, when we're talking about puppies will go and go and go and go, we need to teach them how to relax and get
Yes.
sleep and how to decompress and have downtime. And it's amazing to me, before I started working with just separation anxiety, it's amazing to me how many puppy guardians would reach out after a month of having this puppy run wild in their house without any sort of intervention. And those puppies are sleep deprived and they're over aroused and
Little land sharks.
they're low land sharks, right?
Yes.
They need that time that is downtime. Additionally, it's such a positive way to help with house training. And big thing, people will often say, oh, I can't get my puppy or my adult dog house trained. And what it comes down to is some sort of clear designation of times that access is available, when the bladder is ready to eliminate, et cetera.
Mhm.
Crates can be so valuable for that. And there's a number of other reasons that I find crate training valuable that maybe aren't as direct. For instance, if you have a puppy or an adult dog that has been properly crate trained, they can choose to go into their crate if it's available. They can choose to go into their crate on their own, giving them some agency. If there's something in the environment that, let's say, your friend comes over with their toddler or something,
Mhm.
right? They could choose to go into their crate. And it gives us some really great information about, oh, my
Yes.
dog is not particularly thrilled with that situation. I think I'm going to give them a chew and let them settle in their crate and be away from this toddler or whatever the stimulus may be. And I think that's very important.
We have to protect that space. So if you have that toddler, be it your grandchild or your kiddo, then we protect that pup in that crate and say that's their space, that's their timeout space. So you'll see pictures online of a child climbing in the crate with their dog. But if we don't give them that agency, then they have to escalate or struggle.
I love that you say that because if properly introduced to a crate and given that agency, it can be a place where a dog is, I am feeling uncomfortable, whether it's the noises outside or whatever
Yeah.
it may be. The
Yeah.
maintenance worker, the gardener, the electric guy, checking the meter. And it's so nice to see them have that place that has been very carefully protected. We're not letting toddlers go to the crate and poke fingers in there or climb into the crate. We're not letting, we're just really, I always say if we can bubble wrap the entire area around the crate,
Yeah.
metaphorically, it's just such a safe space.
And even some blue painter's tape as like a
Why
little
not?
rectangle around it, and work on it with your kiddo
Yeah.
before the pup is in there and that area is lava or whatever.
Yes.
Just to keep it their like safe space.
Absolutely.
And I
Absolutely.
interrupted. You were going to add one more reason why you find
One more
crate training
reason,
valuable.
and it's a combination reason, but it came, and I think I had mentioned this to you before, it came so starkly important to me. I live in Northern California, and as many areas in California have, we have fire season. And in one of the main fires that was around me a couple years ago, we were on the just about to be evacuated, like standby for evacuation. And there was all these regulations, and one of them was your dog has to be able to settle in a crate if you're evacuating with your dog. Otherwise, you have to bring your dog to the local shelter and only personally evacuate yourselves into the environment that down the street. And I thought, oh my gosh, do you know how many people would struggle to even drag their dog into a
Right.
crate and not be able to evacuate? In an emergency situation, we need to be able to say, go to your crate, we're going, here we go. And on top of that, of course, dogs are going to, at some point in time in their life, more often than we probably realize, need to be at the vet. And sometimes the
Yeah.
vet is not going to be able to do a procedure in 5 seconds while we're there. Sometimes the dog will have to be in a crate environment while they're waiting for the procedure or waiting for some sort of other dog that's getting some medical care. So lots of reasons. And I'm sure you might have others, but those are the main ones that come to mind for me.
I think you covered that beautifully, and it shows the spectrum of needs across ages. So most people like, yeah, I've heard I need to crate train in the beginning so they don't potty everywhere or just for bedtime. But now I can trust my dog is not having accidents and we got rid of the crate. And 2 points, you might be able to trust your dog in your home and not need it day to day for house training. But secondly, Doodles have a longer adolescence than some other breeds. And you mix in the lab and the labradoodle, etc., who are suddenly swallowing the stuffed animals, swallowing rocks, etc. There's some safety pieces that, yeah, they might not be having accidents anymore, but knowing that they're safely secure and not taking everything out of the trash can and eating the chicken bones, that can be key. But then, even if your pup is now reliable with all of that, if they get sick and have to go to the vet, which is going to be so stressful for the both of you anyway, they're already not feeling well. They're going to be confined to the crate if they have to stay overnight. And my standard poodle, Hershey, when that was the case, I was so relieved that was not an extra stressor on her when she was already struggling with liver issues and needed to be at the animal hospital for a couple of nights. Because the panic that a dog can feel if they haven't been comfortably crate conditioned can be a lot in a new environment. And then finally, I would add special for Doodles. Most groomers,
Groomers,
yes,
yes.
need to use crates. And if they don't, you need to feel really comfortable about what is their screening process. And if they're grooming on a table and we're like, we're crate free, we're free roam, and they got a dozen dogs walking around that are all unfamiliar with each other and you don't know their socialization, comfort, etc., they're not able to monitor body language to make sure every pup is comfortable. It's a safe decision for groomers that are grooming multiple pups at the same time to use a crate, and grooming can already be stressful. And if they need to go every 4 to 6 weeks, all through their lifetime, stopping their comfort at the crate after being a puppy can be a disservice. In order for my board and trade program, I only accept Doodles that are comfortable in a crate because I don't want them to be stressed in a new environment. First, it's a new environment.
Yeah.
But the ones that are at home, they bring their little blanket, their little crate pad, and they pop right in. And it's like the feeling of home has just transferred over to my home and they adapt so much quicker. So I see just so many reasons why it's valuable beyond just the potty training period.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And one thing that you said that I want to emphasize too is I get it, right? A crate is typically large-ish and
Mhm.
not particularly aesthetically appealing in your home, but don't ditch the crate right away because if, like you were saying, oh, they're good in the house, they don't chew things anymore, etc. But it still can act as that safe haven, and it can
Mhm.
still be a place that you toss treats in once in a while so that when the emergency fire or the emergency vet visit or the board and train or any of those scenarios come up, it
Yeah.
hasn't been 4 years since your dog was, yes, positively exposed to a crate, but they've let us.
Right. Yes. And we're talking about all the pros, but there's one pro that I hear a lot that I've seen you discuss a little bit where people say dogs are wolves that love
Mm,
their den. And that is their den and their den animals. So that's what their crate is. Throw a blanket on it if you need to make it more of a den. Can you share a little bit about your feelings about that myth?
I absolutely can and will. First of all, many may disagree, but I feel like it's a socially important message to say we need to say dogs that are domesticated pets, not wolves.
Correct.
Period. Period. End of story. Whether we're talking about the den or the hierarchical
Oh,
dogs that are domesticated, particularly those that are pets, are not wolves. So let's not even put the same. This is not just apples and oranges. This is like
yeah.
apples and Martians or something. So first, that's first and foremost. If going to wolves, yes, there's a certain den type of importance in their lives for many reasons. Couple things. The den doesn't have a crate door on it, and they are typically only used for younger pups' safety and well-being. Now, not that they won't return to the dens a little older, etc., but it's just so different than what we're talking about when we're talking about a crate. I don't care how comfy your dog's crate is, they are not looking at it as a den. And yes, I'm anthropomorphizing because I think it's important that I say that's not what they're encountering. They're
Yes.
encountering a place that they have learned, not intrinsically
Yes, this
hardwired.
is not an instinctual.
No,
Mhm.
this is a learned behavior to go into a crate and feel comfortable and settled in that crate. And I'm sure we'll probably talk at some point in time about a little bit of that training, but that's why, because if it were instinctual, if it were innate, they would go right in there and we would close the door and they'd be
We
fine.
wouldn't
We
have
have
this.
this conversation at all. So, yes, I want everyone to say, yeah, not a den. It is a crate, or you can call it a confinement space, whatever you want to call it, but it is not equivalent to a den. And I think that's such a myth. Now, what I do think that is a little more on the innate side, when not all, but when many dogs experience tremendous fear,
Mm.
let's say loud noises or something like that, they may run into a closet, they may go under a bed, they may
Mhm.
hide under a table. So if we can provide a safe haven by acclimating them to a crate so they know I can always run in there because that's my safe space.
Mm.
Fantastic.
Yep.
Obviously, we know fight, flight, freeze, etc. So that flight sometimes results in a place to feel safer. And I love it if we can provide that for them by setting
Yeah.
them up to feel safe in an environment.
Yes. Do you have a different approach on the how to create some crate comfort with puppies versus adults, or do you have the same approach for both?
That's a great question.